What is going on, Pats Nation? You guys already know who it is. Patriots Global here, back with another video. And in this one, I want to talk a little bit about Stephon Gilmore and more news coming out involving Gilmore and a potential trade. Now, the Stephon Gilmore situation has been up and down, I would say, for the last year or two. But the last couple of months, I've gotten a lot of questions on what is the case with Stephon Gilmore, and in an unfortunate case, we did not know what was really going on. The last we heard, Gilmore was in the facility working out, but he was still injured. We heard that week 1 was likely a case for Stephon Gilmore to return, and then New England decides to place him on the PUP list, in which he will be out at least 6 weeks of the 2021 NFL season. Now, Gilmore did go down with a quad injury in 2020, about halfway through the year. That was season ending for him, unfortunately, but I do believe that Gilmore would have been ready before week 7 or week 6. I do believe that placing him on the PUP list, making him miss a minimum of 6 weeks, does not fully come down to injury. Now, we heard mixed reports that, hey, Stephon Gilmore may have actually ended up missing week 1, but nonetheless, to miss the several weeks, weeks 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 at the minimum, that does not come down to just injury. That comes down to contract issues, and we know that Gilmore was not going to come back and play for the Patriots for the $7 million that he's expected to make in his final year in his contract. That's honestly a big case on why we didn't see Stephon Gilmore in training camp. Was he dealing with injury? Yes, but to completely not show up at all shows us more that this is about a contract and not just, hey, he's dealing with an injury, because we see guys that are even dealing with injuries that go ahead and they work on a separate field. Gilmore, though, was still in the facility, just was not really working out with the team. This is the new, what they would call holding out, except it's holding in. This is basically a way for players to hold out who won a new contract without having to lose money. Because if you do hold out, you don't show up to practices and whatnot, you essentially end up losing money. This is a way for players to still make that money, be in the team facility, but still hold out under technical rules. Now, after New England surprisingly placed Stephon Gilmore on the PUP list, which would make him miss about, like I said, a minimum of 6 weeks, which really, if he was dealing with an injury, was going to be out week 1, even week 2, the smarter thing would have been to have him make the initial 53-man roster and then place him on the IR, which he would miss just 3 weeks rather than 6 weeks. Reports came out that New England was still open to trading Stephon Gilmore, and if New England's going to do it, now is the time to do it. Now, I do believe that at this current moment, they likely would not do so. At the end of the day, if they trade Gilmore, it's not like a team can magically take him off of that PUP list. New England placed him on, so nonetheless, no matter where Gilly Lock is, he is going to have to miss at least 6 weeks. And I think because of that, the best New England is looking for in draft compensation in return for Gilmore is a 3rd-round pick, which makes you wonder, okay, if a team's only willing to give up a 3rd-round pick, doesn't it make more sense for New England to keep Gilmore for this season, let him hit the open market, and then just get a comp pick back in return? But nonetheless, New England was still open to trading Gilmore, and I think the only way that they would trade Gilmore at this point is if they got back a better draft pick or player than the draft compensation that they would get once Gilmore leaves in free agency. Now, a very interesting storyline that I have not heard much people talking about is Ian Rappaport, a very, very reliable source, one of the most reliable sources in the NFL, actually reported that the New Orleans Saints tried to trade for New England Patriots Stephon Gilmore just a couple of weeks ago. Now, for those who aren't very familiar with moves around the league, the Houston Texans recently sent one of their best players, even one of their best defensive players, but best players in general, in their cornerback, Bradley Roby, to the New Orleans Saints. But Ian Rappaport said that before that deal was official, before that deal went down, the Saints called New England about a trade for Stephon Gilmore. Now, this does make a ton of sense. I will say that the Saints were not only reaching out to the New England Patriots. Obviously, they reached out to the Texans. They reached out to the Pats. They actually reached out to the Denver Broncos in exchange for Kyle Fuller also. So they were looking at every potential avenue at adding a cornerback. Now, unfortunately, Ian Rappaport did not actually talk about what was offered to the New England Patriots. Like I mentioned, I would firmly believe that it would have to be a solid player in return for Stephon Gilmore, or it would have to be a second-round pick or better. I believe that New England's going to get a third-round comp pick in exchange for Stephon Gilmore once he hits the free agency open market at the end of the season, so it wouldn't really make sense for New England to just trade him off just to get the same draft pick that they would have got if he just decided to hit free agency anyway. And unfortunately, I do believe that the Patriots' asking price is a little bit high for Stephon Gilmore, and I completely agree with, hey, there's no point in shipping Gilmore off unless you get better than the comp pick you're going to get at the end of the season anyway, but you have to look at the fact that the Stephon Gilmore came off a season-ending injury last year, hasn't played in how long, a new team is going to have to give him more money than is currently on his contract, and he's in contract year, not to mention the fact that he'll be out at least 6 weeks. No team's going to offer better than a third-round pick. Now, there's definitely teams out there that still need cornerback help, and maybe once we get closer and closer to the trade deadline, usually it's right in the beginning of November, like November 1st, November 2nd is usually the trade deadline. Maybe a team who feels that they are really one secondary piece away from winning a potential Super Bowl, maybe they decide to say, you know what, we would like to extend Stephon Gilmore, we want to make sure we land him, and we need him right now for the rest of the season to get to the Super Bowl. Let's go to the Patriots. Let's offer a second-round pick. Let's offer a third and a fourth. Let's offer a third and a fifth for Stephon Gilmore and get a trade done. I do still think that is potentially on the line, especially because New England's going to have to adapt without Stephon Gilmore for at least 6 weeks of this season. They had to do so all off-season also, so it's not like they don't know how to adapt without Stephon Gilmore anyway, not to mention the fact that they did so for half of the season in 2020. I will say that I do think New England does need Stephon Gilmore, and if they could get an extension done, if they could even get him back for the rest of the season, I do think it makes the world of difference. He is still one of the best players, maybe even the best player on the Patriots roster, and is the best defensive player on this team. We've seen a lot of issues within the Patriots secondary already, whether that's against the Dolphins and the Jets. You can only imagine how things are going to be when the New England Patriots play against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Cleveland Browns. So Gilmore's definitely a much-needed piece, but at some point, you kind of have to count your blessings, come to reality, and see what's going to be best for, your team and the longevity. I do think that is keeping Stephon Gilmore, but again, you have to look from a realistic standpoint, and if you get more calls and you get even a third and a fifth in return for Stephon Gilmore, I would say take that trade. Before we end this video off, though, I want to give a huge shout out to the sponsors of this video, betonline.ag. BetOnline is back. They're better than ever, and all eyes are on the gridiron as teams are back to start another football season. And as always, BetOnline is your number one spot for all pro and college football action for this 2021 season. Now, BetOnline has a new updated site and interface, and they added even more odds, props, and contests. BetOnline continues to be that number one source for everything football. All you guys got to do is head to the website or use your mobile device, sign up today, and receive your 100% welcome bonus. Guys, that is double your initial deposit just for signing up. Don't forget to use that promo code NFL100, all the way from basketball to football to boxing, all the way to your favorite Vegas casino games. Do not wait to take advantage of all of the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline, the fastest and easiest way to bet on all of your favorite sports. BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts. But this is going to be it for today's video. What are your guys' thoughts on Stephon Gilmore? New England being open to traded him. The Saints reaching out to the Patriots at one point before they got a trade done with the Houston Texans. Let me know in the comment section below. I want to hear all of your thoughts. Make sure you guys leave a big like on this video. Maybe even share it with some friends. It helps the channel out tremendously the more you guys interact with these videos. But without further ado, I will catch you guys in the next one. And like always, go Pats.